So we can bring this to any residential broker, any realtor in the country. Because I don't know if you've seen like realtors do listings for a 12-plex, but technically, usually they'll say, okay, here's the income, here's the property taxes, here's maybe insurance, here's the income, 12 units, that much income total, or like that much per unit. And then that's about it, pictures. Yeah. But if you have that and you want to understand what you're buying as an investor, you need to understand what the cash flow would be. How much down payment do you need to put to buy this? So we're bringing like we're simplifying basically a complex model through that portal, so anybody could do it, to make something that is not easier for people, and maybe people who are afraid to go in there. I hope some of them will just go, okay, I want to give it a shot. Then they like it and they decide to convert their business, because we're helping them understand, like, with tools they don't have access to. Yeah. We're helping our clients at the same time, because they have an access to this, and they're able to, in real time, analyze their portfolio value, cash flow, everything they want in there, and have their key metrics, instead of just logging into a bank portal.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Mortgage Tech Talks. Today, I speak with David Mayrand. We talk about his journey from being a 15-year residential broker, being very successful in that, and then jumping in to the commercial side, what that transition looked like. And then once he got there, looking around and realizing the tech landscape was not where it needed to be, with lots of spreadsheets and lots of emails being used. And so he took that as another opportunity, and he actually went out and built his own solution that deals with all the complexities, there's a lot of them on the commercial side. So he talks about that journey and now how he's trying to give back, trying to democratize these complexities to the larger community to make commercial lending more accessible. It's a great episode. I think you'll really enjoy it. We'll see you on the other side. Hey, David, how are you?
Hey, Tom, I'm great. Thank you. How about you?
I'm good. Really glad we're able to do this. Bit of backstory for the audience. David and I met at the Be the Better Broker Summit in Whistler. I chatted with him for 2 minutes, something like that. Very quick convo, and then I stalked him afterwards because I thought he was doing some cool tech stuff, and I thought it'd be a really great conversation. So my stalking's paid off. I've got him here. So I'm going to make the most of it, but really looking forward to this conversation with you, David, because I think you're doing some really, really impressive stuff, and I'm very excited to learn a bit from you. So maybe just to start, a big context of the conversation in the conference was your switch from the residential side to the more commercial side. Let's start there, because I think there's a lot of people listening who are kind of thinking the same thing. There have been some, let's say, speed bumps on the residential side over the past couple of years. People are looking, okay, what else can I do with these skills? And commercial seems to be popping up. So talk to me a bit about your thought process going from that residential to commercial. Do you feel it was a necessity? Was it just a personal interest? Talk to me a little bit about your thought process there.
For me, actually, I was a residential mortgage broker for 15 years-ish, maybe 16. Pretty successful, having a good book of business. Everything was great. But eventually, I fell upon a few multifamily deals, and I like a good challenge. I was like, okay, maybe we can learn to do this a bit. So I approached a few brokers. After referring like 1 or 2 deals to a broker, I thought, okay, maybe he can teach me. So then we did about 10 deals with him. Mm-hmm. And through these deals, we quickly realized that it was an underserved market, that everything was basically working on Excels and basically Word or PDFs, and that's about it. And I thought, wow, people don't get much service in there. And I thought there was a great opportunity. So I talked with my underwriters. I said, look, I think we could do both. We did both for about a year, learning the ropes, getting better at multifamily financing. And a lot of people say commercial, but it's really a niche in the commercial, which is the multifamily that we targeted about a year before MLI Select started, which is a very big deal actually in this market now. And things happening one after the other. After a full year of having one dedicated underwriter doing this, we decided to basically totally stop residential, phase out the residential brokers we had and find a new home for them, and convert our business to multifamily. Mostly, we enjoyed it. I always used to deal with investors. They're my people. I don't know. I communicate with them. I like them. So investors, it's just a good connection. I bring value. It's really not emotional. It's really maths basically talking as well.
Yeah.
And so the value we bring super clear, and that's it. So we never look back, I guess. And now we have a pretty good book of business in the multifamily business.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. No, that's a cool story. And I think it's you gotta follow your interests. And I think, one thing that's interesting I find, I don't know if you find it with when you talk about, hey, these investor guys are my guys, you like to serve the people that are similar to you. And I don't know if you find that, that's been the case in this scenario. Not saying that you're an investor or not, but the way you think, it's easy to articulate to the client that thinks the same way. I don't know if that's something that you found in that journey. Yeah.
I think it is, but also when I was in the residential side, one of my, not really an obsession, but thing like KPI I was looking at a lot was the ticket size of the mortgage I was doing.
Sure. Yeah.
And then you want to get that ticket size higher and higher with time. So eventually I hit those guys buying 4-plex, 5-plex-ish back then and stuff like that. And I kind of, okay, like, I like your minding. I like what you're doing. And I like to work with you, and they like to work with me. So it was just natural, I guess, to keep going this route afterwards.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. And I think maybe that's another quick question I have, because I think for a lot of people, whether it's from residential to commercial, I know a lot of people are doing from like A business to maybe more B private business. Other folks are doing, their A business to maybe even doing like a tech company, right? I've talked to a lot of those types of people, but it's scary to make that shift, right? And there's actually high risk, I think, associated with it to say, hey, this is something I've done for 15 years. Now I'm going to go do something else. What were kind of maybe the road signs along the way that told you this is the right thing, right? How did you know? Because really early in those days, you don't get a ton of them. I mean, maybe it was what you described where the clients you were working with were of a certain kind, but were there other things that kind of told you this is the right direction? I'm doing the right thing.
Well, yeah, I think there were it was a calculated risk, I would say. All the mortgage brokers listening to this podcast, basically, they all at some point took a risk. They were working for a bank, they had another job, and decided to jump and start as brokers, right, with nothing in front of them.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of the same, but this time I kind of took a full year to train one underwriter, take a look, see how much volume I think I could generate there. And then as we realize, okay, I'm good, I can generate a lot of volume because the market being underserved, if you're doing things properly, your name circulates quite a lot. So it's good. And then I just never looked back, right? But I've seen people trying to make that switch and totally missing the...
Why do they miss it? Like, what do you think is the biggest reason people might fail in that switch in those scenarios you've seen?
Why do I think? I don't want to judge people. I'm the worst judge of all the time, right?
Sure. Generally, maybe
I would say that, I don't know, some of them, maybe they're just not brokers in their head, right? It's the same. If you have like mortgage specialists with a bank converting to brokers, some of them won't have it because they don't have the support from the bank behind them to generate those sales, right? I think when it comes to commercial or multifamily, it's a bit the same. You have to be able to sell your product. You need to be able to connect with those people you're talking to and make sure that you bring value and that you're not only listening to yourself talking, but you listen to them, address their concerns, and make sure you bring basically them to the solution you're suggesting initially when you start. Yep. So there is execution that is a big deal. A lot of people will struggle because it's a lot of paperwork. See a lot of broker going commercial, but then it's 2,000 pages worth of document to go through. They don't know how to package it. They just make a big file with this, send this to a bank, closing their eyes, and then at some point the banker gets back to them. He goes, "No, sorry, we're not working like this, right?"
Yeah.
A bit like a new broker who would just send this to a bank. They would go, "No, we're not interested. Thank you."
Yeah.
Also, this is the same.
Yeah. Well, let's get into that a bit, I guess. Then you talk about. You briefly alluded to it at the beginning where you're saying it's an underserved market. And I think, both from brokers, just the number of brokers maybe, but also from maybe a systems and processes side of things. And this is starting to get on the tech side. You talk about it's a lot of just paper and maybe Excel sheets and email. You talk about, just now where someone coming in might not have those tools. They'll just put together a 2,000 page report and throw it out there. Talk to me a little bit about I know you've obviously done something with your own solution and your own technologies, but let's put that aside just for a second. When you came in, when you were brand new to the industry, what did the tech look like? And I think, again, a lot of people listening are used to the Filogics or the Velocities of the world where, hey, it's a system and you come in and you do the app and you do this and there's a flow to it. What would be the parallel on the commercial side?
I've got to say, there's no tech whatsoever. Even like MHC portal with banks, everybody was working with emails. Attach zip files to emails. Should I put a password on it? No need to. You kind of go, wow.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
When I tell you, it's really underserved when it comes to tech and I've got to say, like, service as well and strategies. It's both, right? So when we started, actually, we were building our files mostly with Filogics, Velocity, those tools that are available on the residential side, and pulling credit bureau from there, packaging these as PDFs, and then sending them over with whatever we were able to build with the companies and structuring them in a folder structure that would be comprehensive, right? You don't want to throw 1,000 page worth of document to someone in their face and just say, hey, handle this. Just the worst thing to do. So we've started to organize, okay, you'll find this there. We know you'll be looking for this information. It's going to be there. You'll find this information in this folder. And we've summarized it and we named the files in a way that is comprehensive for them. So you want to understand how much investment a client has. You just open his asset folder. Yeah. And you'll just see all the documents named like RSPs or GICs or market stocks or mutual funds. And all of those will be bundled together with the amount there is in the name of the document as well. So lenders would just go, okay, good, I'm good. Then they would open to verify, yes, it's the right amount. I've got this there. So it's really just to make people's life easier, our life and the lender's life. And I think that went a very long way in us getting a good reputation in that market segment.
Interesting. Yeah. So yeah, looking at it, my mind's still blowing when you just say, hey, it's zero tech. It's like, it's really
email.
Really,
email was the tech, right?
Yeah, that's tech. Well, yeah, and it's still tech. Well, we'll give it. It's better than fax. I was worried you were going to go that way. So at least we're one step above fax. But it's interesting. I think a little bit because in my world, I am a bit more on the residential side, and yeah, there's Filogics for a while, but especially in the past 5 years, it feels like there's been a big, I don't want to say explosion on the tech side, but there's Velocity did come out or really started picking up traction, and there's tools like Finmo and Boss, if you're familiar with those. But even tools like what we do, Blue Mortgage, and then there's the Canadian Mortgage app, and there's VIP. There's a lot of these kind of little tools popping up everywhere. A lot of entrepreneurs looking at the residential side and saying, hey, there's an opportunity, let's build towards it. Why don't you think and then let's get a little bit deeper into your specific solution because you started getting into it there and I want to hear it. But why do you think there hasn't been as many entrepreneurs looking at the commercial side and saying, hey, let's build some tech here, right? Let's do something smart. Like, let's do as simple as that. The folder structure you described, is it that it's just too complicated to do? Is it just that there's not enough awareness of this space? Is it a bit of both?
I think it's a mixture of different things that happen. And I mean, a very good example, if you buy a house, you'll get a mortgage. So even if you're a computer software programmer, you'll know what the steps are, how you move through these, right? And it's fairly simple, right? So
relatively, yeah.
That's it. So you can kind of understand this and go, wow, we could make it so much easier. So like the use case the tech is going to bring an answer for or work on is super simple for people to grasp, right?
Yeah.
When you hit the commercial side, I think it's a mix of critical mass for banks to invest, but they still invest millions in it. But then I've realized myself, I did go that route, probably like most people in it, trying to build some tech somewhere where you kind of hire some people and then you pay for stuff and you realize, wow, they didn't do nothing because they just don't get my business model or business case. And then you look at them and you go, well, you spent 40 hours questioning me. I've explained to you my business model, my use case, what we're doing. And honestly, the best way to build this was to have someone internally from our crew who knew how to code, who was super organized in her brain as well to make things work, who basically helped me build this infrastructure that we've built since then.
Yeah, it's such a good point, right? I think that, a lot of people going out and they have a great tech idea they think it's as simple as, okay, now I have this idea, go send it to some developers in whatever country you want to send it to. And, I'll spend a couple $1,000 and I'll have this app back. And it's, I think so much of building tech tools is about feedback and cycles. You never get it done right the first time. Like you can be the best coder in the world. I don't know who that is, but you could be that person. You're going to get it wrong the first time. And you need that feedback of actual people using it to actually build it into a production application, right? And, it's exactly right. And so either you're a consumer. I mean, I talked about, do you know Ben Digi and Ben Salami, the Canadian Mortgage app? Yeah. So he's been on the podcast and I've known him a bunch of times, but he described that exact scenario for you where he was going out buying his home and he was asking all these questions because he's a nerd like me. No one had the answers. And he said, this would be great as an app. And then, the rest is history, right? But to your point, very easy to grasp for him because he was buying a house and, okay, I have to get a mortgage. But also he was, I call it almost like a superpower when you can understand the industry, but also have some of those software skills. When you bring someone like that together, it just, it's 1 + 1 = 5 or something like that, right? And
you understand where tech can be leveraged to bring value to the whole system, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can, you're not getting bogged down too by just, these small things that seem small that start to add up, right? To say, I think, we were even looking at, I don't know, on our previous call, like a negative amortization to a developer that whatever, maybe it's negative, but of course, between me and you, that would make no sense, right? And so, it's those little things that add up and add up. And so, I mean, let's get into it. We've been kind of beating around the bush, but, you really, I think, kind of saw this opportunity, both just jumping into the commercial space, but also on the tech side, starting with maybe some of these velocity type tools. I guess, talk to me a bit about that. When did you realize, no, this isn't enough? We need like a dedicated solution to the commercial space, and just walk me through that journey a little bit.
I'm going to say, well, as I told you, the first few years, like I tried with one underwriter. So we trained one, we built our own SOPs, right? Process to how will we handle operating size?
Yeah.
What's the best way to manage these? Build a network as well with lenders. I would say second year, just roughly, right? Second year, we onboarded other underwriters, trained them, showed them how it works compared to residential, found a new home for brokers who were doing residential with us in the company. And then the third year, I started to think about our process even more. And it became very obvious very, very quickly that one of the reasons.
Why was it so obvious?
Just because we were dealing with velocity, we were getting credit bureau from there. We were going there to extract like information from this other database, the land registry. We were going on the government's website to get like the corporate registry for companies. And it was just like super clunky, I would say. A lot of PDFs and nowhere, a lot of information in those documents that we would handle and no place to store the information, right? Yeah. And data is key, right? And especially when you understand the value of data, having this data set up properly will make you just so much more efficient. And that's where everything started, and it's not perfect. We're still working. We actually have like a workload, which is probably good for a year. So I need to hire more people, train them on our systems, what we're doing, so we can move faster. And
in a year, that workload will turn into 2 years, right? Because it's just the new things you find.
Yeah. So we've set a priority system now. We just did this like 2 weeks ago because I was like, oh shit, we'll never get there.
Yeah, no, that's smart, and you're learning, probably the hard way, probably of all the crazy stuff that goes with building a tech company. But yeah, so you talk about yeah. But so you talk about building, so the big pain point was just data everywhere, right? Okay, yes,
everywhere.
Yes. Yeah.
So for us, it was to gather everything, and also velocity. Like one very, very obvious thing is for us, a company is a borrower, right? Right. While Philogix, everything that exists for residential is not handling any company information. It's just impossible to put it in there because you need a first name, a last name, and this and that. So it's not the same. Like you're dealing with financial statements, and so that's basically one of the main pain points we had, because we want to. You've seen org charts in your life. So when you look at an org chart and there's 1, 2, 3 companies, and then there's like 5 individuals behind these 3 companies, it can get messy, right? For information, you need to organize it in a certain fashion. And that's how everything that's how we started everything. We're like, okay, we need to organize this a better way.
what's like for just the audience to understand, because I think a lot of people listening are kind of in the, residential, they do maybe 2, 3 borrowers. Sometimes they might have a numbered corp on it. And so, okay, they know how to deal with that. But yeah, I think where it gets really tricky is, when you might have, and you can tell me if this happens, you might have multiple companies, and in those companies could be owned by many individuals, or could those companies also be owned by other companies? Like, talk to me a little bit about
Yeah,
like what's
basically,
the most complex example
companies
you
can
can
be
think of?
owned by other companies, which could be owned also by a family trust in there.
Oh, no.
And then you have
Yeah.
two, like a couple behind, and then you have 3 kids as beneficiary as well. So
Yeah.
it gets really messy sometimes. I mean, it's fun, but I mean, you need amazing underwriters, and I'm lucky because mine are stellar.
Yeah.
But behind all this, I mean, leveraging technology is key because, again, if we don't have the capacity to capture all this, just to do AML on all of these companies, get a
Yeah.
credit bureau for everything, taking information. So, okay, here's the net worth we've got. Here's like why we think they're a strong group of borrower. We call them group of owner or a group of borrower. And just organizing this, we're not even talking about the type of properties and the 100 lease or 80 leases you'll get on a building. Just dealing with this,
Ownership,
that would be a good
this
deal.
very small segment. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's it's funny you said when you're talking about a company being owned by a company, being owned by a trust, being owned by a person with it. I had the same thought. Hey, it sounds fun, but maybe you got to be a little bit of a nerd to think that. But I think the point is that with tricky problems become the opportunity to solve, tricky, to find, good solutions, right? The easy problems have already been solved, but like the real value in, yeah, I think in any business, tech or not tech, a very tricky problem presents, very big opportunities, right? Because if you're dealing with it, so is everybody else. And so, I think that's why I'm guessing why you said that's fun, and that's why when I hear that I think, hey, it's fun because it's a hard problem with probably a big opportunity there. So let's go down the data road a little bit. So you talk about, okay, now you're bringing all these different things in from all these different systems into one place. Let's get into the magic word of seems like the decade, which is AI, right? So you said, okay, you're pulling PDFs from whatever different place, land registries, whatever it might be. How are you getting those data points into the system? Are you using AI? And I guess, yeah, just talk to me a little bit about where you're using these types of whatever it might be, models, this, that, AI to make these certain steps a little bit smoother.
At the present time, I'm a mortgage brokerage company, right? That's what I run.
Sure.
So I've got to say we're limited tech companies when it comes to investment understanding. So we're going to change this on June 1st because we'll take all the tech out of the mortgage brokerage and build tech for the multifamily like market out of this company because there's a lot that can be done. So I'm planning on hiring more people, getting more resource in there. So at the present time, we're test running AI, I would say, learning how it works, learning where it can bring value and where we can leverage it, I would say.
Yeah.
Documents a pretty good example. I mean, if you leverage AI with OCR, which is text recognition, right? Image and text recognition. So you can extract, say, from a tax account or from a company registry, all the shareholders, and then you can put their names and like make sure that you have the right names on your own system and take that document and name it, say, for our group, it's going to be org chart, and then it draws the org chart automatically. And then I send it to this particular bank and they name it organizational chart with the date. Then it can rename it and do everything. I think the way I envision this is basically AI could become an agent for us.
Yeah.
Which simplifies the work that we're all doing by him now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, it's one of those things I think that I kind of describe AI right now as, I wrote an article on this where I basically said it's like the storm in the distance, right? So
not so much in the distance.
Maybe not, right? But my point more, yeah, it's starting to get a bit cloudy, but point is everyone can see it and it's a bit storm and you kind of got to get ready. And maybe to your point, it's getting closer and closer every day. But I guess the point, and bringing it back to what you're saying, is that the best thing you can do right now, the storm maybe isn't here, maybe it's starting to get here, is get prepared, right? Start experimenting, get your umbrella out, see what actually is going to repel the rain and what's not, because now's the time to experiment so that when the storm's here, you're ready to go.
Right, because I'm guessing you've interviewed a lot of people about AI and you need to train them, right? So when you start training an AI, you want to make sure you train it on something that will be useful for you, and that you'll be able to basically leverage this investment you're making into making you more productive at the end. So, but the way I see it now compared to when I started, and just researching a bit on it, like digging, having a look to see what exists, what we could put together, what we need to train. I think literally even as a mortgage agent, I can easily envision a future where you just sit with a client, hit the button, and while you have this 45 minutes conversation with them, everything's going to get done automatically, and you'll just say, great, everything's ready. Everything's going to go to the lawyer's office for you to sign, or you will get, it's such a clunky process that there's a lot of improvement that tech can leverage, and you will become, I think the relationship is what you will work on and build, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where, what would something like AI be very good at? There's a lot of different tools and applications out there, but I think you've nailed like the two of the biggest I see, right? Because AI, kind of, what is it? What do we see right now? Like ChatGPT, what's it good at? It's very good at like language, right? That's LLM, is a large language model, right? And so what are the two biggest applications, I think, very quickly, is like document reading. We talked about that. But even conversation reading, right? We have conversations, we talk. There's a lot of stuff that happens in these conversations. Being able to, because that's basically what ChatGPT is. It's the internet, which is however many trillions of data points compressed into a model. And so the more we can compress and use it, I think that there's just so much value there, right?
We didn't talk about LLM much, and we spent a bit of time looking at this, but we went outside this box mostly because there's a lot of people focusing on that.
Yeah.
And I can see like all the marketing campaigns, everything being built automatically out of it, where you just then execute the campaign and just hit boom, and everything happens after that for a week or 2 weeks or 3 months. That's now, right? It's already existing. So LLM will bring a lot of value, but for us, we don't want to train what everybody else is doing, right? Because if we do that, we're not going to bring so much value. I'm guessing some other people are way better than me, way more intelligent than I am, and will do a better job if they do this.
Yeah.
But sure, I do understand my world very well, and then I can really add you.
So I was going to ask you, right? So if you look at your tech solution and you say, well, other people are really good at, these LLMs or whatever it might be, what do you see as your differentiation, right? As you talk about June 1st, you're taking the tech out of, now correct me if I'm wrong, the brokerage, and starting a standalone tech company, which is exciting. And maybe we can talk a little bit about that. But as you start this new tech company, what are you telling yourself, your team? What are you going to be uniquely good at, right? What's going to be kind of your differentiation?
In that tech, we'll basically build tech exclusively for the multifamily market in Canada. If some application comes out of it so we can do some other stuff with it, great. But understanding this market, our understanding and mastery of this market, I think allows us to leverage tech and bring something where we can build the best thing that will exist. So doing that, I think I may be able to change the way the processing, everything is working in the multifamily in the country, right? Because if I'm more efficient than everybody else, why would not like RBC or TD or whichever bank work with this when they build a commercial file? Why would not CMHC or any other like entity who's involved in there
want to integrate or whatever? Yeah, interesting.
So I think we're good to build that. We'll need a lot of support and help. I don't know how to code, so I'm not doing this. But if we get the right team together and we're working pretty hard on this, I think it's going to go great.
Very cool. Yeah, it's I think you had a really good outlook on it, because I think there's so much value. Someone might look at what you're doing and, just to play devil's advocate, and say, that's too small of a market, right? Where it's like, hey, do you know what? It's not even just commercial. It's, it already seems kind of small, but it's multifamily within the commercial space. Are you not dreaming big enough? That could be a criticism. I don't know. I'm not saying it is, because for us, just so you know, I mean, how we've always worked is we used to be general CRM guys. We just help anybody. And it's only when we focused on the mortgage market that our company just took off. And so my opinion is that there's a lot of value in, there's the riches in the niches, right? You hear that type of phrase where, the narrow you go, the deeper you can get. And there's a lot of opportunity in that depth. So I don't know if there's a question there, but I don't know if you agree or disagree with that kind of sentiment.
No, I think I kind of agree with you, but the way I see it is I like to focus on one thing and be the best at it, right? That's our goal, be the best at
Nice.
multifamily financing in the country, bring the best solutions for this. So other people, brokers, bank, lenders, whatever want to work with us, they want to be part of what we're building. And this way, we'll just make things better for everybody, right? And that small niche. Then, if what we're doing is super good, how hard would it be to adapt this to industrial, to commercial financing, and maybe trickle good ideas we may have in there into residential eventually? Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not building it for this reason, but the way I envision it, it's possible that it goes that route. Yeah. And by knowing exactly what we want, what we need, there's already very cool functions in there that people are looking at like, wow, that's so cool. You can do this. Yeah. And because I show it and I deal with a lot of lenders, we had discussion and I show it to them and they go, oh, I wish we would be able to do this. Or I've even heard, wow, we've thrown $3 million in order to get somewhat of a platform. And we basically axe the project. Yeah. So can go, hey, give it to me next time. I'll build it for you.
Give me that $3 million.
But also, don't forget that it makes my business, like the core business of the brokerage, way more efficient, right? Mm-hmm. So it's also providing us with advantage over competition everywhere.
Yeah.
Because if one of my underwriter can underwrite 200 files in a year and the second guy can underwrite 30, I'm winning.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's amazing. And, I think it's honestly a little bit of the reality of tech these days. I think that if you look at, VC funded, like how many distributions, there's not a lot, right? You compare to 2020, it's way, way down. I don't know the exact stats, but the point I'm making is that if you can do what you're doing, which is like a self-funded project, and not just self-funded from the beginning, but one that is, like a positive feedback loop, right? And that, okay, you make tech, you invest in tech, and immediately you're seeing a return on investment that allows you to then, have this cycle. It's just going to allow for really good, technology. That's the hope, at least, right? So, so talk to me a little bit, I guess, about your future vision. Like you obviously talked about, okay, to start at least, it's going to be a tool that I can use for my team and just be the best in the country. But
we're also,
sorry, go ahead. Yeah, but yeah.
I was going to say, it's kind of a discovery for us, right? Because I know how to do mortgages, but I don't know how to do tech. So when you start moving in that environment, you go, oh, it would be so great to have, like my mortgage mind or businessman mind it would be so great to have this particular value for a client. And one of the things is all the pro formas we do, it's basically kind of a pre-approval for commercial. Okay. With scenarios. Okay. You could have scenarios A, B, C, D, E. And they're very technical things with a lot of little details that you have to go through. So we have like Excel spreadsheets that I cannot deal with because it's just way too complicated, too many formulas in there and a lot of ifs and a lot of different logical rules in there, which I do understand, but I don't want to deal with. Yeah. And I've got to say, one of the things that it's kind of a pet project. We're going to, we are actually now live, but testing the final version of it so we can bring this to any residential broker, any realtor in the country. Because I don't know if you've seen like realtors do listings for a 12-plex. But technically, usually they'll say, okay, here's the income, here's the property taxes, here's the maybe insurance, here's the income, 12 units, that many, like that much income total or like that much per unit. And then that's about it. Pictures. But if you have that and you want to understand what you're buying as an investor, you need to understand what the cash flow would be. How much down payment do you need to put to buy? We're bringing like we're simplifying basically a complex model through that portal. So anybody could do it. You could do it. Maybe not your 8-year-old if you have a kid, but I mean,
I've got a 1-year-old and I don't know if she could do it.
Yeah, I have doubts there, but I think you get it, right? To make something that is not easier for people, and maybe people who are afraid to go in there, I hope some of them will just go, okay, I want to give it a shot. Then they like it and they decide to convert their business because we're helping them understand, like with tools they don't have access to. Yeah. We're helping our clients at the same time because they have an access to this and they're able to, in real time, analyze their portfolio value, cash flow, everything they want from there and have their key metrics instead of just logging into a bank portal Like if I'm lucky, because most of them don't even have like mortgage statements or anything, not even mortgage accounts. So if they're lucky, they'll have the mortgage balance with the date of their next payment and amount. For gives you an idea of where we're going, right? I want to connect APIs with all the institutions we're dealing with, offer better client services. There's a lot that can be done.
Well, and it almost comes full circle to our original conversation where you said, okay, residential to commercial, why do some people, drop off? Maybe it's just, hey, a 2,000-page document. How do you even approach that, right? And it's, I always talk about technology in this way, but it can be applied just to any industry, is you can't expect someone to make, if you're going up a staircase, going from the bottom to the top in one step, you need to have these kind of steps along the way where people can manage it and say, hey, that wasn't so bad. And now I'm a little bit taller. And now I feel a little bit more comfortable. Let me try the next step, right? And correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost feels like that's what you're making, where commercial is this big, scary thing for a lot of people maybe, and you're trying to simplify that. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like with this tool for residential and realtors, that seems to be a lot of what you're looking to accomplish.
Yeah, I want to collaborate with them and bring them like clarity and value for their clients, basically the investors or the borrower at the end, and maybe teach them if they want to learn. I mean, we're open to a lot of things. We're teaching people through the country now how to execute on that. Because one of our challenge, we want to invest in the right people as well, right? Yeah. So if you don't like this, my guess is maybe you'll go on the portal once or twice and you'll go, okay, I'm not going back there. I don't like it. It's not for me. But and then it's fine. I mean, we can help you. Just send us the name. We'll go through this and we'll help your client for you. But some people, they become really passionate and they want to learn more and more and more. And then kind of go, okay, I think you're good at this, and we'll just invest our time together on this and bring you to a level where you're comfortable. Because whatever you do is going to take you at least 2 years to become really good at being a commercial broker. And that's pretty intimidating. We're talking about the main pain points in converting. They're sophisticated borrowers. They know their stuff, right? I'm trying to use good words here. So basically, they know what they're doing, right? And so these guys who own, say, portfolio of 20 different properties, like 500 units, whatever, they did a lot of financing. And when you start in the commercial space, you're in front of them. They did 60 different loans, more commercial mortgage in the past, and you're on your third mortgage. So you know way less than they do. Yeah. So intimidating that you need to be comfortable. And how will you bring value to these people is a question that's really hard to answer when you start. So you need to be paired with some people who understand their situation, can bring value, because there's always ways to make them more efficient and make sure they achieve their targets, whether it's to find the estate for their future generations and how we're going to manage this, to manage the interest rates of their whole portfolio, not just of one loan, but what's the strategy? So we have maybe cash available every year. So we have renewal coming up every year. So because a building is not cash, right? So if you want cash, you need to have renewals happening every so often. Great. So there's a lot of stuff you can bring.
Yeah. I mean, you just walk through that and my mind's just spinning to think about all those different things, right? And to your point, someone who's done that 4, 5, 6, however many times, those complicated things that you just ran down in a matter of a couple minutes, they've spent years thinking about and planning about. And so for you to come in, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, it's like you said, it's about, at the end of the day, it's about providing value. So how do you provide value? And maybe this is just one simple way to do it, these tools that you're creating. So, we're kind of coming on time here, David, and this is just flown by. I really appreciate it. But maybe just to kind of close out, I think there are a lot of brokers listening. Some maybe think about that commercial side, maybe some hearing about this tool, and they're just saying, yes, I'd love to just, I don't know, try it out, see how it's going. Maybe it's ready, maybe it's not. So maybe I'm putting you on the spot here. But, if someone listening kind of wanted to put their hand up and say, I'd love to try it out, or just maybe talk to you more, learn a little bit more about the space.
Anytime. I mean, you can
response.
Yeah, you can find me pretty easily. maoki.ca. That's our website. There's my picture, email, everything's on there. You can send me an email. Always happy to talk about what we're doing. I love it. So I love to talk about it, obviously.
Yeah.
And
good.
I believe that I can get ideas just by chatting with everybody. I think through our discussion today, there's probably 1 or 2 things that it got more precise in how I want to build this or this, just because I'm getting it out there, and then it's reflecting, and I'm like, oh, maybe you should be doing that. Or you bring a comment, and I go, so love to talk, guys. Send me an email. We'll set up a chat time, and we'll go through this.
Yeah.
And also for the portal, if you send me an email, say, hey, please enroll me for the portal. We'll just send the email. We'll send you back a link once it's fully ready, and we'll be able to enroll you there.
Maybe I'll enroll David. Maybe we'll be seeing an email from me asking for service. Just my curiosity is piqued, right? So
there's about 80 people waiting now, but that's okay. We'll do a small batch, go, okay, everything's working fine, good. Now we're going with everybody.
That's impressive.
Just need to set Twilio, I think, in a few things there for
amazing. Yeah, 80. Wow, that's crazy just to hear. You know, even where you're at, to have 80 people, that's pretty impressive. So, anyways, listen, like I said, this has flown by, but I really appreciate the time. Thank you. Anyone who's listening, please do reach out to David. I was kind of joking earlier about me stalking him. He's been very gracious with his time, very eager to talk to me and accommodating. So, thank you, David, for that. And for anyone listening, please don't hesitate to reach out to him. And yeah, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Tom, for the opportunity. Really enjoyed it.
Of course. Bye, Dave.
Have a great week. Bye-bye.